Hola, es Carlos Anaya en Lo que Callan los Hombres podcast. Behind every man, there is a story he never learned how to tell. The pressure, the silence, the expectations, the fear of failing, the need to appear strong, even when life feels heavy. Lo que Callan los Hombres is not just a podcast. It is a conversation about the emotional realities men often hide from the world. Here we talk about identity, masculinity, success, love, fatherhood, purpose, faith, loss, healing, and the truth. Many men carry in silence, raw, honest, human, because sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is finally speak. Our guest is a United States Marine Corps combat veteran, retired law enforcement professional, honor guard leader, humanitarian, husband, and father, whose life story reflects duty, faith, and purpose, far beyond titles or uniforms. From military service during desert storms to decades serving the South Florida community to ensuring forgotten veterans receive dignity even after death, his journey reminds us that true leadership is built through humility, compassion, and sacrifice. Tonight we go beyond the image to discover the man behind the service. Please welcome Marcos De Rosa. Esto es Lo que Callan los Hombres podcast. Marcos, what a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure being here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Wow, how do you feel today?
Well, it's special. I mean, this is actually my first interview of this fashion. I'm very nervous but excited at the same time because I think this is an opportunity for me to be able to share things that normally I would not share.
So this is like you basically like coming out of the closet publicly as a...
I'm definitely expressing my feelings about things that some of the people don't know, and obviously a lot of the people that I work for don't.
So what was, what were you before the uniform? Who were you before the titles that you carry and the responsibilities? Who was this person before everything?
Well, thanks for the question. My beginnings start from a very big family. With 6 brothers and sisters from Italian and Argentinian background. A lot of Latin in there, and we were taught from a perspective of a lot of religion, trying to do the right thing and learning from what the Bible has taught us.
So do you think men are taught to hide their emotions from a young age?
Well, I think the stereotype of men, yes, dictates that because of our creeds, our religion, our habits, and the way we were brought up. I think that there is some of internalization, some of holding back, because that's the expectation from society and sometimes the family.
So what is the pain you learn to carry in silence?
Well, that's a loaded question. I think the hardest part is to be able to be faithful to God, see myself as an individual that makes mistakes but learns from them, and then carry this to my children.
I'm writing the book Lo que Callan los Hombres. More than 300 men have been in the book silently for the first time they speak. So what do you think, what's the pressure men live that society doesn't talk about?
Well, it has to do with emotions. I think for me has been holding back on emotions when it comes to dealing with a lot of the things that I deal with on a regular basis, when it comes to honoring, when it comes to respect, when it comes to coming back from combat, and when it comes to dealing with the daily routines.
You've been you're a veteran. You've seen the wars of the human, also the good spirit of human, but I'm sure you saw the dark side of what a person can do. So what part of the public image do people misunderstand about you?
Well, I think everybody thinks that when they first meet me, I am a tough, very close-minded individual. I'm a black and white. There's only one direction, and that direction has to do with the goal of the unit or the goal of the group. But when people get to really understand who I am and see who Marcos really is, they see another part, the more gentle, the more kinder, a loving, God-fearing spirit.
Is there a moment where you felt, emotionally broken, but you still how to keep going? Because I'm sure you do in times of crisis, you're still emotionally broken, but you still have to keep going.
Well, there's been many occasions in which I found myself at, for lack of a better word, war with my inner spirit because of the fact that there's something bigger that I have to accomplish that is bigger than me, and it's a message from, I feel, a higher power to help other people. It's happened during war where I had to sort of put my foot down and become that leader that sometimes people don't want to hear. It's happened during running an honor guard where, you know, we have to accomplish a mission, but at the same time we're dealing with raw emotions, and some people break down, and therefore there has to be somebody that keeps them going.
How do you think that affected you emotionally and personally also?
Well, it does definitely affect it.
Mm-hmm.
I internalize a lot, but I am blessed because every single time I find myself in a situation where I'm at odds and I don't know how to express it, there's two sources that I go to. One of the sources, which is the first source I go to, is God. I ask for His guidance, for His support. And the second source I go to is my wife.
You know, it's interesting because men don't know how to articulate how they feel, and they don't how to articulate how they express. And there's an issue with men; they don't know how to articulate what they're saying or how they're feeling. Why do you think there's the disconnect among men, that they don't know how to express their own feelings because they don't want to look vulnerable and they don't want to look weak?
Well, I think you just touched on two major subjects at the end. Being vulnerable is a huge thing for men. Men don't want to let their guard down because we're in an environment where it's a constant guarding yourself, guarding your family, guarding from society, guarding from being able to do the right thing. And sometimes it becomes a burden. But I can tell you right now, what has given me a lot of peace throughout all my struggles, again, I say, has been God, the guidance of God. And I'm gonna share something with you that not too many people know. When I was in combat, there was times where I was questioning whether I was going to come out of it, and I had made promises to the individuals I had control of by the commands I gave, and I didn't want to let them down. But more importantly, I didn't want to let myself down because I knew if I did that, I would lose any type of credibility, any type of that same things that you were just talking about earlier. And one thing that I was given that I'm going to share with you now was a little book. And it was given to me by a religious leader, and he handed it to me in 1991, and I still carry that book.
And the book is the New Testament. Wow. So this is like it's just a protective force for you.
That is where I go for advice, and every single time I open it, I find peace, I find direction, and I reconnect.
Is the New Testament that talks about Proverbs, and men have to be connected emotionally and spiritually, because I feel that's what the disconnection is.
That's correct.
There is a disconnect between the mind and the spirit, and I think men have to learn how to have an emotional muscle and a spiritual muscle in order to become a whole. So what do you think men are starving emotionally today?
I think men need to have the opportunity to be able to open up and be able to express themselves freely and try to reconnect with that peace that inner peace that everybody looks for, because that inner peace will give you happiness, will give you joy, and at the same time you'll be able to pass that energy to other people around you, and you'll create a synergy that will create a better environment.
Okay, so lo que callan los hombres, what men do hide? What is it that men don't tell?
Emotions. Emotions.
You know, this is an exclusive. You have never talked publicly about this, and an honor that you gave me the exclusive to speak here in Community Newspaper. So what is it that you haven't told the audience about you 30 years in service?
Well, I lost a very good friend of mine that I think redirected my life, redirected a lot of things. We worked together in the police department, and he was my mentor. And I'll never forget when we were sitting and after we had done a funeral for a retired officer, and this mentor of mine sat here and made a question to me that redirected everything that I was doing in law enforcement field from that point on. And that question was, we're sitting at the stairs of a funeral home in US 1 after the ceremony, and he asked me, he goes, would you fold a flag if something happened to me? And I told him, I said, stop joking. Of course I would. But then I asked him the question again, and I said to him, would you fold it for me? He goes, without hesitation. About a month and a half later, that person was killed on the line of duty. And I found myself folding the flag for Robert, and in front of his wife and his young child. And that moment crossed through my mind. And every single time that I do an event for a fallen officer, that comes to mind. And it's almost like a challenge and a promise to all fallen officers and all officers that have given their lives to protect this community. The least we can do is honor them, honor their families, honor their legacy, and be humbled by the ultimate sacrifice.
You know, the last part that I want to conclude is that there is a crisis in mental health, especially for veterans who get retired, most of them, and homeless. So what is the mental crisis that we have that many of the veterans end up homeless?
So it's a vicious cycle, and the cycle starts with the lack of expressing the feelings. It starts there, and then there is a disconnect when they come back from war from them and their families or their loved ones because they don't speak the same language. When that occurs, that veteran that has been selfless throughout his whole life, because that's why he served, he doesn't want to hurt his family or his loved ones. And as a man, because most men do this, they will internalize those feelings. Those feelings will build up, and instead of hurting the family or the loved ones, what they'll do is they'll turn around and they'll go on the streets because they don't need help. They don't want help, and they've done it up to now, and they'll continue to do it up to now. And unfortunately, some of them end up in the streets. Some of them resort to drinking or drugs, and then it's all downhill from there.
Yes. Marcos De Rosa, what a delightful conversation. Thank you for opening your heart, your spirit, and to trust in Cafecito Espiritual and Lo que Callan los Hombres. And I always believe this is not a podcast. This is the truth about the stories of thousands of men that live in silence, and that today they have a way out to really come to healing, because this is the process of healing, and it will take a truth. It will take a journey. It will take a lot of people to get men to speak up and live in truth and in dignity. So for that, I honor you today. Congratulations for so many years, for giving us so much service. You are truly an inspiration for all of us.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for continuing this journey of helping men open up and be able to express, because it's a healing process.
This was Lo que Callan los Hombres. See you next time.